Well, how many of us just love salt? I know I do. It brings out the best in just so many foods. Just ask any mom like me or any chef out there. We also hear, though, that salt is connected to a number of health problems. But according to our next guests, it is a two-way street. In fact, recent studies are showing that salt is important to your health, and to cut back on salt too much could actually be detrimental. As part of our My Cuisine series, we are joined this morning by Lori Roman and the salt guru, Mort Satin from the Salt Institute. Good to have you both here on the show. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning, Daniel.
I want to start with you. What is a salt guru, and how did you become one?
Well, I'm an internationally known food scientist and author. I am the head of research and science at the Salt Institute, which happens to be the world's resource of knowledge on salt.
All right, so you've got that title, you've earned that title, so we understand now. And you know, one of the things, though, that for me, I've never understood is all of the myths surrounding salt. I mean, there are a lot of myths, but I know there's also some new research out there as well, right?
A lot of the notions about salt are very outdated. Some very recent research out of Harvard just in the last couple of months. One showed that sodium intake in the United States has been just about exactly the same for 40 years, while hypertension has continued to rise. So one outdated notion put to rest, because sodium does not seem to be the culprit. It is more likely obesity, which would, that's common sense,
makes
right?
Sense, yeah.
And some other research out of Harvard recently shows that healthy people who go on a low-salt diet develop the precursor to diabetes within 7 days. So they develop insulin resistance, which is a precursor to diabetes. So very negative things can happen if you go on a low-salt diet, and most of the notions about salt are very outdated.
Wow, information I had no idea about. So this is good stuff for me. And you know, again, I'm like everybody else out there. There are a lot of myths out there about salt. We got some true and false questions for you this morning. I know you didn't think you're looking at him like, I didn't think I was going to be tested on all of this today. We've got just 3 questions here for you. Let's start off with this one. First of all, pregnant women should cut back on their salt intake way back. Now, this is a question that actually comes from one of our producers who is pregnant, and quite frankly, she's concerned.
Completely false.
Really?
In fact, a generation ago, when this advice was prevalent, there was an increase in stillborn babies and low birth weight babies. So that advice was taken away. That is old, outdated advice. And in fact, iodine deficiency, and our salt is iodized, iodine deficiency is the #1 cause of mental impairment in children. Oh. And that comes from having mothers iodine deficient and children iodine deficient. So pregnant mothers need iodized salt.
And so speaking of children, here we go. We have another true or false question about kids. And this is that low salt intake, that children should have a low salt intake because salt contributes to childhood obesity. Is this true or false?
I'll answer that, Danielle. No, this is patently false. Obesity is a result from eating too many calories. And if you cut back on your salt, 2 things will happen. Number 1, you will not be satisfied with the amount of food that you're eating, so you'll continue to eat more because it won't be as tasty. Number 2, your choice of foods will be very, very different. With salt, children have a tendency to eat much more salads and vegetables and reap all the benefits of those nutrients. So no, definitely it is not true. Most nutritionists will tell you that salt does not contribute to obesity.
Okay, here's our 3rd and final question for you. If in good health, senior citizens can include salt in their diet, and I would probably say no to that one.
No, they absolutely must include salt in their diet. So definitely the elderly should not be put on low salt diets. They should have a balanced diet, a lot of salads and vegetables, and they'll have a very enjoyable retirement.
Here's the other thing, though, that we've heard that salt is bad for our cardiovascular system. What gives here?
Well, there was a study actually by a doctor from the Albert Einstein School of Medicine in New York City, which showed that cardiac patients put on a low-salt diet had a higher incidence of cardiac events. Just the opposite.
Isn't that
just
something?
The opposite?
All right, you've busted a lot of myths for us here this morning on the show, and thank you so much for sharing it with me as a parent and with our audience as well. So some good stuff. Thank you for being on the show this morning.
Thank you.
And to learn more about how new research is revealing the importance of salt in our diet, simply go to salthealth.org.